completely agree. There are Wells notices that have been sent out. Just, every exchange got Wells notices.
Got Wells notices for what?
For being unregistered securities exchanges.
Oh.
Yes. And there hasn't been much.
Did I miss that news?
Well, it was never publicly disclosed.
And when did that happen?
Early February. Absolutely. Right. And look at the coordinated action that was taken against Paxos.
And there's Caitlin Long, founder and CEO of Custodia Bank, a 22-year-old Wall Street vet. Does Caitlin know something we don't? Is there going to be more contagion along the way and more downwards price action for the crypto market? Buckle up. And with that, what's happening, crypto crew? Sean's coming back at you with another cryptocurrency video. We got a jam-packed video, so getting straight to it. Major news update. The SEC will not let crypto companies come in and register. We tried. This is coming from Coinbase. So is the SEC shutting the door to crypto companies and making them register for the unregistered securities that these exchanges have been offering? How will this turn out? The SEC warns Coinbase it's pursuing enforcement action over securities violation. Coinbase says the SEC has informed the company of the plans to pursue an enforcement action against the exchange and its staking services, but there were few details offered. The US-based company may be operating in violation of security laws in the running of its exchange and staking services. The regulator targeted Coinbase with a so-called Wells notice that informs the business that the agency is planning a future action that could include an injunction or cease and desist without specifying exactly what activity it found in violation. If needed, we welcome a legal process to provide the clarity we have been advocating for and to demonstrate that the SEC simply has not been fair or reasonable when it comes to its engagement on digital assets. So what will come of this? What will come of this feud between Brian Armstrong and Gary Gensler? Will this be the spark that causes the exchanges to be shut down? Time will tell. We'll report as we have more information. And in the meantime, in between time, look what Jim Cramer's saying.
Well, the real problem with Credit Suisse, which is the analog, is they never made any money. Deutsche Bank is actually very profitable. So let's start there. Why bail out a bank that is just a chronic loser versus a bank that's doing well?
As we know, historically, when Jim Cramer says something, you might want to trade against it. If you look at the history of what he said, you'll have a winning track record if that's your strategy. And an update from CryptoCon. Last month, the Bitcoin cross of the monthly RSI told us that the bull market was here at 24,000. Now the cross is confirmed, and the next stop is the RSI 66 line, where Bitcoin hits a temporary wall and forms mid-tops. There will be corrections, but it's just starting. So what we're looking at here in the charts, as you see, every single time we have this bullish cross, this is on the RSI, and we come up and hit this RSI 66 level, that's when there's a mid top before the blow off top, and we have a little bit of a downwards price action. Same thing in 2019, bullish cross, we hit that 66 level and we hit that mid top before having some downwards price action. And right now, we're just starting to get towards this 66 RSI top. Now, how high will Bitcoin go prior to hitting this top before cooling off? Time will definitely tell. And looking at the Bitcoin price chart, we're looking at the super guppy, Bitcoin versus the US dollar on the daily, and it's flipping green and it's looking bullish. Looking at the 3-day, what do we see? We see that we actually just flipped to the light blue, which then turns to the green. This is definitely starting to look bullish, but one thing we gotta pay attention to, the higher the time frame, the stronger the move's gonna be. Right now, we're not out the woods yet on the weekly, but we are still looking good because we're above these super guppy EMA ribbons. And once this flips to the light blue or green, it's gonna be off to the races. So all in all, definitely looks bullish for Bitcoin. Without further ado, let's hear from the All In podcast. We recently talked about Balaji here and his $1 million Bitcoin price target. Well, the All In podcast is weighing in on this and giving you their take. Let's hear what they have to say.
Balaji was pretty much saying, yep, this is the moment. Where is there any light between your position of like, hey, Dalio's correct, this is the end of the empire, and Balaji's like, it's the end of the empire right now. Where do you stand on that, Preber?
So, I mean, I've been concerned. I've told you guys this for like 3 years, and I've obviously promoted this book for 2.5 years. And Dalio's points of view, with lots of kind of empirical wisdom behind it, I think indicate that the U.S. is on a path, and the way we spend and the way we behave and the way markets are reacting, I think indicates that a lot of what has happened historically is happening now in the U.S. Now, it doesn't, I don't know if it's going to happen overnight. That's where I would have light with Balaji.
Okay.
The notion of kind of hyperinflation, again, I think means that, so think about all the US dollar holders around the world. It would be a shock for the collective system. It would require the collective system to collectively agree to get off the dollar very quickly for that to really happen.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I do think there will be inflationary effects. I do think there will be massive kind of asset value shocks, but I'm not sure there's going to be this kind of like Weimar Republic, Deutsche Mark,
I gotcha.
hyperinflation thing, because it is the reserve currency and it is so widely held by everyone. It would require collective giving up.
Well, there's a really interesting article that was just published on Substack by Nick Carter, who I guess is a guest writer on Mike Solana's Substack called Pirate Wires. It's a follow-up piece to an article he wrote 6 weeks ago where he laid out an operation by the Biden administration called Operation Choke Point, which made the case that the Biden administration was quietly attempting to ban crypto. And now, a month later, there's all these things all these steps that the administration is taking to go after crypto. And he lays out a bunch in a bullet point list. So the SEC announced a lawsuit against crypto infrastructure company Paxos. Crypto exchange Kraken settled with the SEC. SEC Chair Gensler openly labeled every crypto asset other than Bitcoin a security. Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works held a hearing lambasting Bitcoin. Biden administration proposed a bill that singles out crypto miners for owners' tax treatment. New York Attorney General declared Ethereum, which is the second largest crypto asset, a security. That's a huge change, by the way.
Yep.
SEC continued its anti-consumer protection efforts by doubling down their attempt to block a spot Bitcoin ETF. OCC let crypto bank Protego's application for a national trust charter expire. And then the SEC just sent Coinbase a Wells notice. So I think it's hard to argue that there isn't a concerted effort now to crack down on crypto by a wide variety of government agencies and authorities, starting with Gensler at the SEC, who seems incredibly hostile to crypto.
I mean, I think that there was a rumor going around, I don't know how true it is, that FTX was days away from getting a critical approval by the SEC to actually even further legitimize their U.S. exchange before they went out of business. So I think Gensler had to pivot very hard from, at a minimum, being very pro FTX, and there's all kinds of stories about his interrelatedness with Sam and his family, to very anti-bit or anti-crypto in general. That's clearly happened. But look, I think that this is like a lot of tin hatting, which I don't think is very productive. If you look at the total number of non-zero Bitcoin wallet addresses in the world, and let's be extremely generous and say it's 100 million, there's still 7 billion people in the world. And so I just think everybody that tries to speak about the fragility of the US and worldwide banking system is right. And that part I think is quite lucid and unemotional. But every time they try to connect it to Bitcoin, they sound like a crazy person because they're just talking their book. And the best example to demonstrate this is in all of this chaos, if Bitcoin or crypto assets in general were truly a legitimate off-ramp and salvation from US dollar hegemony and all of this stuff, why isn't Bitcoin at least at 35,000 a coin right now? It's barely above 28,000. It really hasn't moved that much. And I think the real answer is that most people in Bitcoin are not trying to hedge their existing fiat currency exposure. They're just picking off people in retail. How else do you explain an asset that is not absolutely ripped in the face of all of this terrible news about the financial system? And I think the answer is because it's still a cul-de-sac of users. It's not broadly available, not broadly adoptable, not broadly used. I still believe that it's valuable. I was the earliest proponent of Bitcoin, 2011.
Yeah.
2012. So I believe that there's a place for it in one's portfolio, but I just think connecting these dots misses the point. And I think the point is much, much bigger than a crypto off-ramp. The point is that we have a lot of systemic shocks that are building up in the system. We have broken a ton of the systems that cause the financial infrastructure in the world to work properly. And we are just starting to uncover how they're broken. So I think we need to focus our energy on that and dial down a little bit of the Bitcoin maxi stuff, because it distracts from a really important set of topics that are more inclusive and actually touch 7 billion people. My point is, put this in the who cares bucket and get back to the facts. Friedberg mentioned it. We have a debt ceiling problem that's in the offing. Sachs mentioned it. We have a commercial real estate crisis. We just talked about the fact that he didn't raise rates enough, nor did he cut enough. So we're in this weird middle path that Jay Powell we're talking about. So those are the facts on the ground that I think we should focus on, because those will have implications to how people can borrow, start businesses, capitalize risk assets. That's a big problem. I guess.